begin with the biggest newsmaker this week. And the newsmaker we are tracking on ET Now Startup Central is BookMyShow co-founder and CEO Ashish Hemrajani. He's in news for raising a fresh round worth 550 crore rupees. He's also brought in a new investor in Stripe. It's the biggest that BookMyShow has raised since inception. The last time it raised funding was about 2 years back when they raised 150 crore rupees. Ashish joins us on ET Now Startup Central. Ashish, thank you so much for talking to us. How difficult was it raising 550 crore in the current environment? You also have a new investor on board.
See, from our perspective, Chandra, it wasn't difficult, and for a couple of reasons. Number one is that we had money in the bank from the last round of funding. So there was no urgency where we needed to fund this, we needed this money to fund our operational burn. We've always been a very capital efficient company, and in the last fiscal we were even EBITDA and PAT positive. So we had the luxury of time, that's one. Secondly, that also sort of puts you in a unique position to choose your partner, as I call them, and not investors, because they also bring value to the table. And I think Stripes, in that sense, along with my current investors, bring in a lot of value to the table, to the board. And I think that was a decision that we had taken. So this deal was in the pipeline for a while, and we had the luxury to take our time to do that. Also, you asked me an earlier question to say, what do you feel about the funding and the quantum of funding? I think, a lot of people pop champagne. Sure, we'll, have a beer or two, collectively. But I think from my perspective, it brings in a lot more responsibility raising this kind of money to my shareholders, to my customers, to my clients, as well as users, and at the end of the day, to my employees who have ESOPs in the company. So, raising capital to me actually is the easier part of the job, but to be able to now efficiently deploy it, be capital efficient, and then to scale the company to newer pastures, I think is the tougher ask. So for me, it's a lot more added responsibility. So while sure there is a, it's a great metric to know where you stand, but I don't, think beyond that.
Good to know, Ashish, that you didn't find it really difficult, unlike I know many other startups struggling in the Series B, Series C phase. But in terms of how you're going to use this, I mean, your release had, some generic investments on analytics, but give us some specifics here. In terms of revenues, you already get 40% from, non-film bookings, through sports events, through plays. Take us through the other use cases you see and, where you're really going to put money here going forward.
So look, from our perspective, when you're a category or a market leader, it's your obligation to grow that category. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So let's look at telecom as a sector or power as a sector, or, you've got to sort of invest in the ecosystem because it's very broken. Similarly, in our business as well, there are a lot of things that were broken many years ago, where we needed to install ticketing software at cinemas and venues because that didn't exist, and that was a part of the ecosystem building, and you can sit on top of it today. But if you look at payments as a problem, or you look at connectivity as a problem, you look at people's propensity to pay or pay online, those are real challenges which are ecosystem issues. And I think as a market leader, you've got to constantly focus on growing the market itself. So we launched a closed loop wallet, which saw about, now 20% of our transactions come through that. We're looking at offline to online payments. We're looking at reserve now, pay later. There's a lot of work that we're doing on the payments. Then we're looking at people, the people that don't have the propensity to pay or have trust as an issue. What do you sort of put as metrics to improve those areas? The other is, how do you increase engagement? And I think in our core customers, there's a lot of work around creating a 360 destination for entertainment. And BookMyShow now is poised to actually do that. Whether it's review or rating today, if you look at a movie like an Urta Punjab, we've got over 50-60,000 people that have rated and reviewed a film, to a larger massa movie where you've got about 200,000 people that are reviewing and rating a film, and it's become the most sort of authentic review and rating engine where people look for a review of a film or a rating, and it's all user generated content before purchasing a film. We've also been working for about a year and a half on a big data project around the data around entertainment. So whether it's cast, crew, actors, music directors, all of that data was broken and all that information was lying in manual form, which we've worked over the last year and a half tirelessly to digitize that content and create a consolidated view of what does that look like. And finally, videos. I think we started with trailering, and now we're doing a lot of news and features around entertainment, and we've launched about 2 or 3 channels on BookMyShow. We put up about 500 pieces of content which we created last month, and we're just iterating and evolving that content and seeing what users like, because at the end of the day it has to start and begin and end with users and what they like. So there's a lot of homework that we've done. We've got it to the front. We're now looking at A/B tests. We're looking at consumer responses. There's a lot of analytics and predictive modeling that's going into place. So those are the real focus areas for us over the next couple of years. And also then we thought that every 18 months, if you've got to keep raising capital, that cycle itself takes about 9 months. And it takes you away from, it sort of distracts the management team from what they should be doing. So we said, let's take a 3 to 4 year horizon and raise enough capital so you don't need to keep going back and distracting yourself. So those are the reasons why we did this. And then of course the fourth peg is really our international expansion. And we've looked at Indonesia as a market. We were looking at it and researching and did a lot of homework over the past 1 year. And we launched Indonesia a couple of months ago, and we've seen some traction building there the last 30 to 45 days. Sri Lanka is another market that we've been working on for a while, and we've just we're taking the Sri Lanka versus Australia series live in Sri Lanka. So both these markets will be movies as well as non-movie content, and we're just focusing on that.
Ashish, you mentioned international markets. You're of course present in Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Australia. How are these emerging markets really shaping up for you in terms of traction?
Look, it's early days. We've taken a conscious decision with these 2 markets. There's a lot of question as to why these 2 markets. I think Indonesia has a sizable population, which is about over 200 million. It's a mobile first market. It's got payments, which is an evolved payments market. But in terms of entertainment, it's lagging behind, and I think we can be a catalyst with a better ecosystem and some serious numbers in terms of population. I mean, 250 million is not a small number. And Sri Lanka really is like another city or state. The beauty about Sri Lanka is that it's a hot country, so most people want to be indoors, and it's an indoor entertainment that we provide through movie ticketing, and it's a 1 flight away market. It's just 2.5 hours away from Bombay, and even closer from Bangalore and our Chennai offices. And also there are 3 languages that work, which is Tamil, Sinhalese as well as English. And I think when there are more languages that work, you see more content and therefore more people that go to the movies. So it's a really tiny market, but it's right in our backyard, and we just felt that we can make a difference, and that's why we went into Sri Lanka. But Indonesia is a large enough market.
Ashish, we are also seeing a trend of online marketplaces venture into services. If you look at what Paytm is doing, Snapdeal's recent bouquet of tie-ups with, the likes of Zomato, Cleartrip, Urban Clap. How much of a threat is this going to be for standalone businesses like yours, considering, Snapdeal, Paytm operate at a critical scale, they have that critical mass. So what kind of threat do these businesses pose for you going forward?
I'll answer it in 2 parts. One is competition is inevitable. I mean, in any business, there is no business which is bereft of competition, and I think it's healthy because it pushes you and let the consumer actually at the end of the day decide on user experience and user interactability, customer service, and how focused you are in what you do and what else can you do for that user. And you have to come from a position where you look inward, not outward, and you have to look at how can you service. You have to come from a mindset of serviceability and service in anything that you do. And so I welcome competition in the sense as long as it's healthy and it is fair. As far as marketplaces are concerned, I think we have relationships with a few of marketplaces. We are partnering with a few of them, and I think marketplaces are it's a how should I put it? It's in their life cycle of their business. It's a inevitable growth in the way they're going. So e-commerce was one thing that they started with. We've seen how the ecosystem in e-commerce is challenging, and therefore a lot of the marketplaces now want to get into services which as long as they're sitting on sticky customers and they can offer them something, it's healthy, as long as we continue to grow the market. Because in India, even if you look at how broken it is, you've got 1.2 billion people, you've got 800 million handsets, 300 million smartphones, 150 to 170 million data connections. You've got 400 million bank accounts, 22 million credit cards. So there's a lot of headroom, and I think as long as collectively we can grow the entire base of consumers and users who need to engage on digital goods and services, I think we are doing a fine job then.
Ashish, how difficult is it going to be to ensure that you spend that 550 crore very carefully? You said you raised such a big capital, keeping in mind a 3-4 year horizon, so that there's no management distraction. But considering you've raised so much, how difficult is it going to be to really be frugal and efficient about this?
Look, frugality comes with experience and a mindset. And I've been running this company now for 18 years, and we've seen 2 dot-com boom bust cycles. There was a period in 2001, 2002 where we had gone from 150 people down to 6, and we've been very frugal in the way, and capital efficient is the way I'd like to call it. We keep our alternate light bulbs off, we keep our ACs at the bare minimum, we run a very, very tight ship. And I think businesses over a period of time are built, they're long-term plays, right? You can't look at sprints. You've got to look at, you've got to be a marathon runner. It's a long race out there. And so it comes from being creative. It comes from putting your consumer and user first, and it comes from being capital efficient. I mean, you can blow up a lot of cash by bribing customers, but customers won't stay loyal just by giving bribes. You've got to build a great product. You've got to have great customer service. You've got to keep the user at the center of your universe to be building products and services. And as long as you do that, you'll always have an opportunity to charge a service fee. So I think those are some of the tenets that we believe the businesses and solid businesses should be built on. And we will be extremely frugal or capital efficient, as you call it. We're not about to go and blow up this capital.
Final couple of questions, Ashish. We're also seeing this huge trend of movie apps that's emerging. You have Hotstar, you have Eros now. How much of a threat really is this going to be for the likes of BookMyShow? What has your experience been so far?
See, let's look at 3 markets. One is India, let's look at the US, and let's look at China. If you look at the US, most people didn't invest in technology, in quality of service at cinemas, and if you look at the US, there's no allocated seating. The concessions and type of cinemas that are there are not of the highest quality, and therefore the people below the age of 16 or 18 are the ones that go for the movies, and then there are users who are above the age of 55 that go for the movies, and the ones in between are probably watching in-home entertainment. The other thing also to recognize and realize is that in markets like the US, 44 to 45% or a derivative of that in entertainment is sport. In India, 75% or a derivative of that is movies, whether it's to do on television or whether it's the content on television or whether it's in film, in theater, content. And I think that there's a stark difference there. The third hypothesis is that in India, it's a hot country 10 months of the year, and it's the cheapest form of indoor social entertainment that people can go to, which is in an air-conditioned environment or a controlled climate environment. We've seen that with our business in New Zealand, that when the temperatures go above 30 degrees, we lose traffic to golfing, running, swimming, sailing, or any other activity or a barbecue which is outside. Most Indians are indoorsy because of culturally the weather being the way it is, and therefore even in the southern markets you'll see that movie going is a really, really large part of the socio cultural their choices for going out. And I think those are the stark sort of differences. And then if you look at China, where they've had digital connectivity and in-home entertainment, movie ticketing still continues to be quite vibrant. And the three big economies where you'll see growth rates in theater viewing is in China, in India, and in Russia. So I think it's to do a little bit with the weather, harsh climates. It's also to do with the way we are wired, where socially we find movies as a very acceptable experience of our free time. And the third is languages. Look at the number of movies that are made in India. So it caters to various demographics and locations. So Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam are as big, if not bigger than the Hindi film industry. And then obviously now you've got this Hollywood content. The biggest sort of movie before Sultan this year has been Jungle Book. So I think you've got to filter it or look at it from in that light, where you can't do a cookie cutter model in each market. We are wired slightly differently than the way it is in the West. But sure, I think with brands which offer in-home or on-device entertainment, there is a market for that as well. So I think they will coexist. It's not going to eat one against the other, at least not for the foreseeable future.
Finally, Ashish, before I let you go, I have to ask you, when was the last time you used BookMyShow.com? And, was it to watch a movie, a play, some game? You have to tell us that.
I usually watch movies on Tuesdays because the prices are low. Most cinemas run an offer or a discount on Tuesday. So I go to BookMyShow, pay my convenience fee, buy a couple of tickets on Tuesdays, buy my popcorn and concessions online because BookMyShow offers you that, and then go watch a movie. If I can save money on the parking, I do. Otherwise, I give it for valet. But most Tuesdays, I go and watch a movie and I use BookMyShow.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.